Checking some things out here. Got one person watching. I'm pulling this up on my phone so I can see the comments here. I don't have my second monitor anymore. Okay, cool. All right, now I can see the comments here. What's up, guys? So as you guys know, I'm in transition right now, moving across the state, and some of my computer equipment and stuff is over at the new house. So I don't have everything up where I can see you guys' comments. I'm just going to look at it on my phone. But does it sound good? Everything good? Audio, visual, everything good? Let me know. Let me know. DM, what's up? Glenda from Flint, Michigan. How you doing? Sean K, how you doing? Good evening from the UK. All right. Appreciate you watching me from the UK. Joey, my man. Arthur. You're 5x5? I'm 5x5. I don't know what that means. Looks like everything's working. Everything's sounding good. Everything's crystal clear. Josh shared it. Appreciate you, Josh. I'm going to retweet that out. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for everybody watching me today. Well, just like everybody else is doing, I want to take the time to remember the 9/11 tragedy. And, we all have that vivid memory of where we were, what we were doing, what the atmosphere was like, and how we felt about the tragedy. And, I never really talk about it. I think about it every year, but it wasn't until I had this channel when I decided maybe I should talk about it. Let me just tell my experience, and I want to hear you guys' experience. So I'll just get right into it. So on September 11, 2001, I was in high school, actually. I don't remember which grade I was in. I think I might have been a freshman. I was either a freshman or a sophomore. I know it wasn't like senior year or anything, but I was living in Colorado at the time, and it just felt like a normal day. I went to class at I had to get there early. I felt like I was there before 8 o'clock. And, Colorado's 2 hours behind New York, which is obviously where everything happened, the first plane hit. And I remember being in my teacher's classroom, my first class of the day. She walked in kind of sad, kind of like she wasn't her normal self. And, we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't know anything that was going on other than what we were told or what we read in the newspaper, read or saw on TV. She walked in. She was really sad. She's like, guys, I have some news to share with you. It's very tragic. Things are unfolding as we speak. We don't know what's going on. And we're thinking is there a shooting or something? Because we had a couple. Oh, there we go. This is getting demonetized. Damn it. Anyway, she had said there's something going on. It's tragic. I'm going to turn on the TV. So everybody automatically we're just calm. Everybody got all serious. She turns on the TV, and we see one of the Twin Towers on fire. And I'm like, that's weird. So we start asking her questions like, what's going on? What's going on? She said, an airplane hit the building. And my initial thought was actually, that's dumb. Why would a pilot be flying so low? Doesn't he know he's flying over New York? They're skyscrapers. That was my initial thought. I just thought okay, that's a freak accident. It looks very bad. I hope they're able to put the fire out and everything is going to be fine. And actually, I didn't even think much of it after that. I was just like, dang, that's tragic. That's horrible. But then when the second plane hit, that's when I knew, okay, that's not a coincidence. There's no way that could happen. We've heard stories before of helicopters hitting buildings. That's why I thought a plane hitting a building is it's a freak accident. But when the second plane hit, that's when I really started. I feel like my heart kind of sank. I was just like, oh man, it feels like we're under attack. But at the time I'm only in ninth grade. I don't really know what's going on. I just feel like we're kind of attacked. But anyway, the entire school was just kind of somber the whole day. How high school students are running around, joking, just active. People weren't really active. People were just kind of sitting around. It wasn't even a normal day. We're sitting in the cafeteria at one point. People were kind of skipping their classes just because everybody was so distracted. I'm surprised they didn't send any of us home. It was a full school day, but they didn't really care if we went to our classes or not that day. I don't know. It's really weird. So I remember sitting in the cafeteria with friends, and we had TVs in the cafeteria, 4 of them, one in each corner. And people were just kind of huddled around watching the events unfold. I think by that time, the other planes had hit, and everybody knew there was something really, really, really wrong, but not everybody could make sense of it or put it in the context of America's under attack, at least not under attack from a foreign enemy. And I'm not going to get into the 9/11 conspiracy stuff, because that, to me, that's not as important as remembering the lives lost, because that actually happened. Human lives were sacrificed. So I don't even want to go down that path, even though that's obviously a path that I could go down. There's obviously some inconsistencies with the whole timeline and everything else. But not many people were able to look at it and see that it was a terrorist attack until George Bush's press conference and everything else. The news, the media coverage just made it feel like, okay, it was a terrorist attack. We know who did it and blah, blah, blah. And I remember going home and I couldn't sleep that whole night. I don't think I slept for probably 3-4 days, because I've always been a nerd in a sense where if there's something going on, if there's any kind of event, I will glue myself to a television. I'll read newspaper articles. Back in the day, it was newspaper articles. And I think we might have had the internet back then, like dial up or something. I don't know. But I just remember I just like was all about learning the information. How did this happen? Who did it? How could these buildings fall? And it was a sad tragedy, you know. And one thing I remember so vividly from back then is how people came together. People were unified. I didn't notice any like road rage, or weren't any like altercations or fights at school for a while. People just seemed to be unified by like our shared grievance, and people weren't trying to fight. We were just shocked. We're like, how could something like this happen in America? And you know, that's pretty much that's my experience of that day and everything like that. But fast forward to today, and even really before today, I truly understand just how fortunate we are as American citizens to have the freedoms and liberties that we do here. Because while that terrorist attack shook everybody to their core, it was bizarre, it was strange. We're like, how could this happen? The truth of the matter is that doesn't happen in countries like the United States. Not on the regular. We got caught slipping that day. But there are countries around the world where that's a common occurrence. Terrorist attack where bombs are going off, suicide bombers, car bombers. You know, that kind of stuff happens on a regular basis in other countries. Bombs blowing up. We don't have to deal with that over here, because this is the freest, most prosperous country in the world, and our military might is strong. And a lot of the reason why we don't have foreign invaders in this country is because we have an armed populace. You know, so when you think about that, we have an armed populace to prevent tyranny from abroad, but it's also to defend domestic tyranny, which is coincidentally, that's our biggest threat. Our biggest threats today aren't foreign, they're domestic. You know, a lot of the domestic threats create foreign threats. If you think about everything that went on in the Middle East, it seemed like the war on terror created more terrorists. And everything that the government seeks to fix somehow magically gets worse. How do we go from the war on terror creating more terrorists, the war on poverty created more poor people, the war on crime created more criminals, the war on drugs created more drugs and drug addicts, and now it seems like it's the war on guns, the Second Amendment. It's one of those things where I can look back and see, back then I had no idea I would be 18 years later with a YouTube channel and an American flag behind me, expressing my patriotism and my gratitude for living in a country this free, and what I'd be willing to do to defend it. Because when the September 11th attack happened, and I was too young to remember all of this. I believe that was the onset of erosion to freedoms and liberties. I know, I remember being a kid and traveling, flying different places, and it was really easy to go through the airport. Matter of fact, my grandpa would drive me to the airport to pick up his brother, my uncle, back in the day. And we used to just be able to park in the parking lot and go right up to the terminal and wait for him to walk off the plane. And that was one of my favorite things to do, is go in there and wait for him. You can't do that anymore because of TSA, because of heightened security. There's been a lot of bureaucratic layers added that erode our freedoms, invade our privacy. I believe Bush signed the Patriot Act, which I know there's a lot to that Patriot Act, but you noticed the change after that. But it was in response to the tragedy that happened. And it just seems like every time there's a tragedy, whether it's of that magnitude or a smaller one, the immediate response is, well, we need to restrict more freedoms and liberties. That's the only way to prevent it. That's the only way. Granted, we haven't had another 9/11. We've had other terrorist attacks here. The media doesn't want to talk too much about those, but they've happened. There have been planned terrorist attacks since then. I mean, the compound in New Mexico from last year comes to mind, and they just happened to bury that story. But like ABL, I digress. I just think that the response to tragedy always seems to be some kind of federal government overreach, some kind of bureaucracy that gets added. And I always wonder why every year we don't just have a memorial, but without the images and the optics of the planes flying into I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I didn't like seeing that every year afterwards. I liked learning more about the victims and the stories and just remembering them. But I don't want to see how it unfolded again and relive the day, if that makes any sense. And it just seems like that's what they want us to do, is relive the memories and the tragedy and dig up that trauma so that we will sign away our freedom. So we'll vote for certain things. And I talked about this several months back, and I constantly talk about it, how the way to tyranny is through fear. You can be controlled through fear. And that's what they use the TVs for. You think CNN playing on the TV in airports is a coincidence? That's by design, because they know people walking through will subconsciously take in that information. Even if it's on mute, you're reading the headlines, you're seeing the straight faces of the commentators, and just the whole energy around the news being broadcast through the TV is just to spread fear and put people in a certain vibration of fear, because when you're in that vibration, you can be controlled. And it wasn't until recently that this all made sense to me. And so now it's just like, I'm just having one of those moments where I'm just so grateful to be enlightened, for God to grant me this wisdom that I can share with other people, because fear, I believe, is an acronym: false expectations appearing real. And when they can create these fears, that's how they can erode freedom. They can convince us to surrender our freedoms against our best interests, essentially. Another thing I want to point out too, as it relates to unity and the way that America was united, all right, let's go to war. Let's figure out who did this and let's go get them. I think Bush had a resurgence of support after that. When we went to war, and again, I'm not going down we shouldn't have done it, and wasn't these people, that people. I'm just saying what it did to the country was it brought people from all walks of life together. I mean, did racism matter when the Twin Towers were falling down? Does murder care about your race? If somebody's trying to hurt American citizens, doesn't that include black people? You think they'd be like, oh no, leave the blacks alone. We're just here for Americans. They like to call us African Americans as if we're not truly American. They want to hyphenate it. But again, another story. I just think that when tragedy strikes, just like with this hurricane, when there's something catastrophic, something that transcends the artificial divides, the human instinct kicks in and people come together. People will help each other. And we're so divided now that we're actually more vulnerable now than ever before to maybe not a terrorist attack from abroad, but we're vulnerable to losing more freedom and liberty because we're so divided. They have us divided and fighting each other over stupid stuff. Like we're always arguing and bickering. Oh, Chick-fil-A is being boycotted. And don't get me wrong, I'm part of the problem too. I get sucked into the vortex and I'm constantly going at it and I'm calling out the left or whatever. I think that's important to do. But what's even more important is to use people who may not agree with us as allies. You know, I tell you guys all the time, I like listening to people who are smarter than me. I was listening to Jordan Peterson just this morning, and Jordan Peterson, you know, he's not super political. Jordan Peterson said that you can't just have an echo chamber of the right and an echo chamber of the left. You have to have some overlap, some crossover. You have to find common interests or society will just collapse. United we stand, divided we fall. Does that ring a bell? Oh, man. Joshua Shepherd, man, I got to give you a shout out. Appreciate you on the super chat. YouTube is disgraceful, taking money from independents for live streams, honoring those who perish. Never forget. I think it was the Emperor of Japan who stated he didn't attempt a U.S. ground invasion because there would have been a gun behind every blade of grass. That's amazing. I didn't know that. I love that quote. That's so true, though, because we have a Second Amendment. Nobody's coming over here. I mean, we have a Second Amendment now, but you have right now Republicans and Democrats. Yes, Republicans who are trying to roll back the Second Amendment. They're chipping away at it. If that Second Amendment falls, that would be tragic. What would happen after that? I don't even want to speculate because we're going to protect it at all costs. But what I was talking about is, as it relates to like the Tulsi Gabbard video yesterday, okay? I made that video about Tulsi Gabbard. And for the most part, I was really surprised people agreed with me. A lot of you guys left comments saying, you know, I agree with you on Tulsi. She's the only Democrat that makes sense. She's the only Democrat that I can take seriously. I don't agree with her, but I can take her seriously. And that's worthy of acknowledging. Obviously, Tucker Carlson agrees. A lot of people on the conservative side agree because it's important to see people who disagree as allies. Going back to what Jordan Peterson was saying, is like, you have to have that in order to make sense of the world. Everybody thinks they have the world figured out, right? Like, I know what's best. I'm the best. Everyone should listen to me. Anyone who disagrees, there's something wrong with them. No, you're wrong. You're arrogant. Like, nobody understands fully what's going on, right? He had this quote. I wish I could remember it verbatim. He pretty much said, I'll probably just, whatchamacallit, paraphrase it. He said, we're not here to because we know what the world is about. We're here to understand that we don't know what the world is about. So you have to fully understand that you don't know, because if you fully understand that you don't know, that's wisdom. And that's how you can move forward, understanding you're trying to make sense of it all. And you're going to come across people who have a different perspective, not because they're ideologically radicalized, but because they literally have a different worldview. Everybody's an individual, so they have their own worldview. But you can't always just say that person's a liberal, that's why they're a Democrat. That's that like primitive tribal mindset that exists on both sides. I didn't realize that before. I realize it now. When people are like, you're crazy, she's a gun grabber. I'm like, Did you even listen to the Dave Rubin report? You didn't even listen. Some of the people were like, her voting record, this and that. I'm like, you're missing the entire point. She has a different perspective, the same way a lot of people on the left, I listen to people on the left. The top channel that I watch, the guy is a liberal. I listen to it because I'm a conservative. So it makes sense that I would listen to the counter to what I believe to see if there's any flaws in what I think and what I believe. And then I can talk to him or communicate with him. I'm talking about Tim Pool. He's a big channel. He doesn't know who I am. But if he knew who I was, I would challenge him on what he believes. I would challenge some of his views. He could challenge me on some of mine, and that would strengthen what I believe and what I perceive. But what Tim Pool and I and you guys all share in common is we're sane people. We love the country. Do you know how important the work he's doing is? That is so important to have somebody who's on the left. He is ideologically on the left, but he has a fair view of the president. So there's still people out there like that. Those are the people who care about the First Amendment, care about the Second Amendment. Sure, he disagrees on climate change or welfare. Who cares? So what? This is a mixed economy. A lot of people who are super hardcore right-wing conservative, like, yes, Trump, Republicans, we're the best. They don't realize that we have a hybrid economy. This isn't full capitalist. We have socialism here. And a lot of the scare rhetoric is like, oh, we're going to be a socialist country. Well, if the far left takes over, yes. But liberals like Tim Pool don't like the far left. Therefore, he's an ally. Therefore, he's someone that's standing with us saying, those people are trying to take over the country. They're trying to erode our freedoms. And the fact that he's on the left, he has that kind of credibility. So there's crossover, there's overlap. Does that make sense? That's where we have ground to gain. We're not going to gain ground with Antifa. All we can do is expose them and make sure they don't recruit any more people. The far left, the people who are actually radicalized, they're against people like Tim Pool, people like Tulsi Gabbard, Dave Rubin. I feel like there's other people that are, maybe they don't identify as left on the left, but they probably are. You know, I've been listening to a lot of those people. I listen to a lot of left wingers. I think I even listened to like Secular Talk here and there. I really disagree with him on politics. I think he's a little bit too far left for me. But people who are closer to the center, people who are moderate, people who are sane, those are the people that we can talk to. Those are the people that are more likely to vote for Trump in 2020, which obviously Trump is the best option for 2020, right? But for those of you who were commenting yesterday, like, you're crazy, look into her voting record, she's a gun grabber. I don't want to hear the term gun grabber. That's just a regurgitated talking point to say gun grabber. What does that mean? Gun grabber. She's trying to take your guns. Like she said, I'm coming for your guns. Or she has a different idea of how we can have a safer society. Unless what you're saying is you're so pro Second Amendment, you want to hand out guns to people who are literally schizophrenic because Matue. If that's your take, then I disagree with you, because I want to have kids one day, and I don't want to say like, oh, well, because of that, everybody should have one, and let's just have it be Wild Wild West, and we'll just go that route. But that doesn't mean I'm not 2A. That doesn't mean I agree that the government should step in. We already have laws on the books, right? Just like we already have socialist programs here. America's doing fine. It could be doing better, but it'd be doing a whole lot worse if the far left takes over. So what does that mean? Compromise, talk, come together. If we really care about saving the country, that's what it's going to take, is accepting the fact that you're not going to have a utopian echo chamber full of all the Republicans you can ask for. Everybody around me agrees. That's not a thing. And if you think that, you're just as insane as the far left. You're just as insane as them. But if you have principles, if you understand that there are people that are going to disagree with you and there's nothing you can do about it, it will never change. Don't I always say that to the left? I always say that because they seem to think that they can actually create a utopian society where everybody has oceanfront property, steak dinners, free healthcare. Everyone's going to be thin. No one's going to have diabetes and cancer. Everything can be perfect if we just elect Bernie Sanders. He's the man. Well, it seems to me that there's some people who are on this side that follow my channel, and it's not a lot. Trust me, it's not. I don't know how many of you are, but you're out there. Some of you will leave comments and make it seem like I'm crazy because I can acknowledge that someone who disagrees with me on politics shares values and beliefs with me that are consistent with keeping this country safe and sovereign. Again, people like Tim Pool, people like Tulsi, who maybe are misguided. You know, she's 38 years old. And the reason why I continue to talk about her is because she's running for president, but she's not insane. She's on the left. Yes, she's against certain things. Yes. But wouldn't it be better if there were 10 Tulsis running versus 10 radical, far left, anti-American, gun-grabbing socialists, true gun-grabbing socialists that say, I want to take your guns, like Beto O'Rourke? I mean, we sit there and talk about them all the time, like, oh, look at these far left candidates. Well, if you don't care and we shouldn't be talking about, why are you bringing it up? Why are you calling them out? What I'm saying is we need to extend the olive branch to people like that, because those are the people we can reach. So when I go out and I'm wearing this hat and I'm flying the American flag, it's not because I want to be some antagonist out there in front of far leftists, exposing them like that's like saying water's wet, guys. Look, I'm saying there are a lot of people out there who don't know where they fall, or they think they're on that side because Orange Man's bad until they have a conversation with me. And next thing you know, they're on our side. That's the goal, right? If not, what am I doing any of this for? What am I doing any of this for if we can't find a way to make it work with people who are here who disagree but aren't insane? People who aren't trying to destroy the country, they're out there. There's proof. I mean, it doesn't seem like it because the fringe far left, they're the ones with the megaphones. They're the ones that are getting pandered to by all the politicians. They're the ones getting propped up by the media. They're the ones that have taken over Twitter. God, if you look on Twitter, it seems like the whole world is far left. I hate Twitter. But the people that are in the center or center left, people that are just liberals, those are people that are friends, family, coworkers. They're out there. They don't even pay attention to politics. If you ever listen to Tim Pool, he talks about them all the time. He's like, yeah, I went to Chick-fil-A to get a sandwich and I saw a bunch of LGBT activists calling me racist bigot, you know, and they're trying to block my entry. Is that the insanity? Is that what's going on? Okay, I think I'll vote for Trump. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as they're like, I don't like Trump, but he's the lesser of the two evils of the two-party side. I just think it's so freaking important to find unity wherever we can and acknowledge people wherever they are. Meet them where they are. If you're going to say, oh, Tulsi, this and that, when you say gun, you're just it's just intellectually lazy to just paint her with the same broad brush that you do Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and the rest. That's not only is that not fair, it's dishonest. Right? And I'm not the only one. This isn't just my opinion. She's been on Fox News several times. She's talked to other people. I feel like she would go talk to who? I'm trying to think who it is that's on the right. Not Ben Shapiro, someone else. That would be big if she talked to Ben Shapiro, just because he gets labeled one of the bad guys from World War II. Right? And for somebody to come over and say, well, I'm not going that far. That's crazy. He's just on the other side of the political aisle. He's a neocon too, but that's another story. I just think, you know, when you have people who are willing to talk across the aisle, I think we can come to solutions. I won't ramble on that. I really had to drive that home because some of those comments I got yesterday during the stream, not comments afterward, were just a little bit over the top. It just seemed a little bit like you're just playing into the false belief that if we just elect Trump super hard, we won't have to deal with the left anymore. No, they're going to be here. De-radicalizing them is the way to go. But when you have those kind of responses to me, as if, well, I don't trust no Democrats. Okay, so you don't support me talking to Democrats then? So you don't want me to try to convert? Not that I'm converting anybody, but you get what I'm saying. You're saying because you don't like Democrats, you don't trust Democrats. Well, you're saying you don't want me to talk to them to try to, have a rational conversation, and maybe they see things from our perspective and they'll vote accordingly in 2020. You're saying it's not worth it? That's what I want to know from those people that were saying that. It just doesn't make any sense. Someone said, but what about remembering 9/11? I know, guys. I can't help it. Sometimes I get down there. But the point about 9/11 is just remembering where we were as a country right after that tragedy. We came together. And that's kind of what led me down this whole tangent path of talking about this whole divide and how we're at odds with each other. Because if we're at odds with each other, it's just a matter of time before not the next 9/11 happens, but before we lose more of our freedoms. What does it matter if we're going to keep bickering about the same old stuff if we can't even agree on American principles like we did back then? I feel like everybody was on the same page, and now we're not now. You know what I'm saying? Tommy Gunn said, losing 2020 will de-radicalize their face with tears. I do agree with walk away, though. DM said, voting for Trump no matter what. We must push voters to do that. We don't push voters. We convince them. And it's not hard. If you're willing to meet people where they are. Tulsi's not qualified to be a wartime president. Yeah, nobody wants her to be president. I don't want her to be president. I think she would be a great addition in the Trump administration. I think she's qualified to, help shift the priorities. I mean, look who Trump just fired. He just fired somebody who shouldn't have been hired. He's got a lot of neoconservatives and rhinos around him. Many vets I know don't like Tulsi, including my brother. That's fine. There's veterans who are on the far left, so that doesn't really mean much. There are veterans that, believe it or not, they're veterans, but they have all liberal values, so that doesn't really say much. Vets aren't a monolith, if that's what you're saying. I mean, I get it. Some vets don't like her. Some vets do. So that's kind of a moot point. Hello from Germany. Man, I got people watching from Europe. God bless you all. Dina Marie. Oh, that was you that said that, Dina. You said many, Mike. Emphasis on many. Cameron from Texas. Wow, the comments are really coming in like on time. This is perfect. Barry on said Tulsi isn't perfect, but is probably as good a prominent Democrat as they have. I know. That's what I've been saying all along. I'm like, man, we should be guiding our destiny every step of the way. Like I was saying yesterday, I think it would be interesting if people did participate in the primaries to keep power away from the ones who want it the most. Let's be honest. Half of these candidates should drop. We should trim the fat now. There's a lot of dead weight. A lot of people just taking up space on the stage that have zero shot. There's only like 4 to 5 candidates. Let's just get to the point. Skip this third debate, or just have the 5 candidates that are up there that are actually legitimate, I guess, viable candidates. So Biden, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, and I guess Pete Buttigieg. And I guess kind of sort of Kamala. I think she should drop out. Tulsi would be the best one up there in terms of, actually, if you think about it, if she were actually the front runner, if she actually won the nomination, she'd be a lot more dangerous than Elizabeth Warren. And I don't mean dangerous like, oh my God, she's a leftist. I mean like dangerous in the sense that she could win over some independent votes. She could win voters from Trump. They said Andrew Yang, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that. He bent knee a long time ago. Now he's pandering and he showed his hand. But she didn't. She's not out there pandering. That's why some of you, even one person left a comment saying, she supports reparations though, Mike. I'm like, okay, I disagree with her on that, but I don't think she supports reparations because she's trying to pander to blacks. I think she supports reparations because she believes that reparations should be paid. And I'm not going to write her off for that because guess what? I'm black. I have family who wants reparations. So I can understand their perspective. I can understand why they want it. So somebody who stands on their positions without pandering, without spitting all this far left crap, that's somebody I'm willing to take more seriously. You know, I haven't heard her use the term weapons of war like Beto. Beto's been out there crazy. This dude is so desperate. That's why he's been the loudest for gun control. That's going to come back to bite him, by the way. But she's not doing any of that. Maybe she did raise her hand for, I can't remember she raised her hand for healthcare for illegals. I have no idea. But all I know is on the Rubin report just a couple of days ago, she said we have to have a secure border to have a country. Okay. I don't even think this woman is a true Democrat. She seems like some kind of nuanced hybrid libertarian person. She's like a Ron Paul, someone in the middle. And I think those kind of people, the people who are nuanced, people who are balanced, are the people who keep the conversation moving forward and progress moving forward. It's not people who are locked into their echo chamber like, nope. I only want to hear pro-Trump stuff. Nope. Fox News for the win. I'm watching Hannity every night to have my beliefs validated. That's no different than someone who watches Rachel Maddow every night. Like, nope, tuning everything out, just far left stuff. I just want to be on this validation feedback loop. That's it. Validate what I believe. Confirmation bias for the win. Great job doing what you're doing, Mike. Keep it up. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks to everybody that's watching. I always think that there's only going to be like 10 people watching if I go live in the middle of the day because people are at work, you know. Conservatives work, right? You're not at a protest. But yeah, you know, part of the 9/11 tribute is just talking about where I think we are as a country and where I think we can go if we're willing to talk to people who disagree, simply disagree, not people chanting no border, no wall, no USA at all. Not those people. We have specific patriots who can go and handle that business. I'm talking Brandon. That's the point. Right. But think Flecka's talks. Okay. Flecka's talks goes out, says Trump's not that bad. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the kind of people that are out making a difference right now. I mean, we're all contributing. We're all playing our parts. But when you think about what I just said, what I think works is going out saying Trump's not that bad. You know how powerful that is. Dina said, I speak to people on the left all the time. One of my 4 sisters. I don't know if that was for me or not. I watch Tucker and try to switch back and forth between him and CNN, but I can only watch during Tucker's commercial breaks. See, let me say this about Tucker. Tucker has a populist appeal, in my opinion. I don't see Tucker as a conservative so much as he is just a principled individual. If Tucker were just some super duper conservative person, I feel like he would probably disagree with Trump on certain things because Trump is liberal on certain things. That's why Trump is populist. That's why Trump won. Trump won Democrats. He won independents. He won people who were left leaning because his message was broad reaching. He cast out a wide net. That's how you win the presidency. right? Tucker has a similar approach. I don't see Tucker as the same as everybody else on Fox. Don't get me wrong. I like some conservative voices on Fox. You know, I like Greg Gutfeld. I think he's funny. I don't have a problem with really anyone on there, but it's really obvious that you have neoconservatives on there, some of the old school boomers on there. Like, I mean, I've watched Sean Hannity before. I don't have a problem with Hannity, but it's also like it's basically just validating everything you believe if you're a conservative. At least Tucker has on the liberal Sherpa, crazy Kathy, or what, almost called her crazy cat lady. That's probably true too. But crazy Kathy, he has her on. I've learned a lot about what people on the left believe just by watching his show. So I feel more informed. I'm more informed if I know what the other side thinks. I know what I think. I know what I believe. I stand firm in my principles, but I'm also open to having my mind changed. I have an open mind. And that's why I think I've learned so much, and I've grown as a person, as a conservative, as a YouTuber, from listening to people like Tim Pool, who, in my opinion, is almost completely unbiased. He will tell you if he's biased. He'll tell you, like, you know, guilty. I've donated to Tulsi and Yang. Here's what I think. Isn't that kind of honesty refreshing, as opposed to the mainstream? They're like, we're an unbiased source of information. We're just guardians of truth, says CNN. We are not on the left. We're not a liberal organization. But then they go on all night, and it's a constant tirade of anti-Trump. I'm subscribed to CNN on YouTube. Almost every single one of their videos has Trump in the title. Almost every single one. That is the Trump News Network. Their lifeline goes through this president. Most of the media does that, but they're like, nope, we're centrist. We're in the middle. We care about facts and truth. Unless it's a Republican, then we can stray from those all we want, because the narrative matters more than the news. See, someone like Tim Pool will actually just say it. He'll call it out. He said, look, I don't like Trump. I think he's braggadocious, blah, blah, blah. But you got to give him credit for the economy. I'm like, thank you. You're on the left? Someone on the left is saying that? We need more people like that. Those are the kind of people we can have the conversations with, guys. Yes, thank you for that $100 super chat, man. You are the man. Thank you, Josh, again. Joshua Shepherd. I hope you're still watching, man. Thank you. Hope that's your picture. Oh, you guys are having your own little conversations. That's great. I appreciate that. When I rewatched that live stream yesterday, because I tend to do that a lot. I like rewatching my live stream so I can read through all the chat and make sure my moderators are on point in there, if there's any trolls. But I was impressed to see the conversation going back and forth. That tells me I'm doing a good job. If I got people talking and exchanging ideas, that means I said something that's thought-provoking, something that's rare. Man, the comments are just rolling in. If you support reparations, you support people who were not slaves based on skin color. If that is so, then white Christians deserve reparations from Muslims. Why white Christians? See, I'm not going to go there. I don't know what to say about that one. Anyway, the sad conversations of live with no context, just blah. The sad conversations on live with no content, just blah. Lazy, boring live, deuces. See, that's what I'm talking about. Deuces. Anyway, yeah, guys. So remember everybody who we lost on 9/11. Remember all the people who we're still losing. You know, that's the thing. I don't want to dwell on this, but obviously we mourn the loss of people who lost their lives on American soil in one of the worst attack on American soil, the only one that I've seen in my lifetime. And we're lucky that that's all we have going on here. We're blessed. We're fortunate. We should be way more grateful than we are. We take so much for granted here. But yeah. Now you guys are talking about Muslims enslaving blacks. Oh my gosh. Is this off of the reparations talk? Like I said, I know people, I'm related to people who want reparations. So that's not something that I can just write people off who want it, if that makes any sense. If you have your perspective, like anybody that supports reparations can't be a friend of mine, I mean, sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, there's people who support it. I'm not one of them. I don't want them. I don't want reparations. I don't want any kind of handout from anybody. Thank you for the super chat, Linda. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's watching today. Please give it a like. Please also follow me on my other social media accounts. I mean, follow me on BitChute. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me there. What am I doing? I actually have to do another live stream after this. Not live stream, but I'm doing a pre-recorded video that I'm going to upload. You guys will see it soon. So I got to sign out. This went a little longer than I wanted it to be, but it's all good. God bless you all. Shout out to the moderators. Thank you guys for doing what you do. You guys are amazing. I will sign off. I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless you. God bless the victims of 9/11. And don't take America for granted. Meet people where they are. Have conversations with people who disagree. Continue exposing the far left, et cetera, et cetera. We'll chat soon. Talk to you later. God bless.